Welcome to the Clutch Time Podcast with your host, Daniel Kreider and Ryan Vargas. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Clutch Time Podcast. Back at it once again. Lots of stuff to talk about this week. A little MLB, a little NCAA football, a little NFL action, a little bit of everything, man. We keep rolling, man. The sports keeps getting better and better. It seems like every week as we're closing in on the World Series. Lots of exciting action in college football, along with the NFL as well. And then we also have the NBA started this last week, which is going to be interesting to talk about, and many more. So I want to welcome my co-host, Ryan Vargas, and Ryan Palmer is back with us. Welcome, fellas.
What's going on, everybody?
I wish I can sound as cool as Ryan, with what's going on. But hey, guys.
Hey, once you hit like 5 episodes, you get a microphone, man. That's how it is.
Oh, hey, I already got my microphone.
There. What is this, episode 3?
Oh, He's got the dumbbell, man. Look out.
20 pounds. Because my take's so strong.
Killing it.
Vargas, we got some exciting stuff to talk about the facility too, don't we?
Yeah, man. Facility's getting close. We have hoops up now. That barn is starting to look more and more like a basketball facility, which is super exciting. We're getting there, dude, slowly but surely, and I feel like weeks are flying by right now. But I'm excited. You hit it right on the dot. I mean, NBA's back. We're in a unique time now where we have NFL, MLB, and NBA all going at the same time, which for sports fans is a good thing. And so, yeah, man, good to see you guys, and I'm excited to get rolling.
Let's do it. Palmer, what's your take this week on college football?
Well, let me get my microphone up here. So there's a couple things that I wanted to address. It's a fun week in college football. And the more that we say, I mean, the last 2 weeks you guys have said, crazy week, weird week, fun week, or whatever exactly it is. But every time you say that, it just gets progressively weirder. Penn State lost to Illinois, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but beep. I said that Penn State wasn't going to really be up to form unless their quarterback was healthy. And though he played, he didn't play well. He was about maybe 70% to where he needed to be, and Penn State couldn't run. So the Fighting Illini actually came out with a win. So congrats, Brett Bielema. I'm a little concerned about Alabama, and frankly, I don't know if they're going to make it to the SEC championship, which to me, from 2009 and up, I only know 3 things to be true. Love at first sight exists, a cold beer, and Alabama being in the SEC championship or in the national championship. I mean, I fall in love at first sight, but these girls don't seem to share the same interests as I do, so that's not true. Beer makes me fat, so I can't drink that anymore, and I think that Ole Miss might go to the SEC championship over Alabama this year because Alabama's defense is really struggling. So
interesting. So I got a question that's kind of thrown, but what do you think? What are you thinking as far as the Heisman this year? Are you thinking Caleb Williams, or are you thinking along the lines of somebody else?
Mostly somebody else. Here's the thing about Caleb Williams. He is a good quarterback, and he's done some really good things in the short span of time that he's been with Oklahoma. But his resume is not there at all. I mean, personally, I think it's going to be running back this year. I hope it's Bijan Robinson. He's basically Ricky Williams incarnate over at Texas. I mean, this kid is a monster. And Caleb Williams didn't really have that good of an offensive showing against Kansas. I think the only highlight that he has is it was like a 4th and 3. His running back got stuffed on a design run, and he yanks that ball out of his hand and gets that first down to win the game. Outside of that, and let me also preface, let's not bring up the Red River rivalry because I don't want to relive that. But outside of those 2 games, what has he really done? It's not Heisman worthy, in my opinion, because the Heisman is about stats, where your team is at, and Heisman moments. Lamar Jackson, he was pretty much Madden in real life, without juking everybody. Same with Robert Griffin III. They just had a lot of these moments in these clips. And being that we're pretty close to halfway through the season, I don't think he's got the star power, so to speak.
Nice. So
I got a question for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Danny. Well, I was just going to say, one team we really haven't talked much about, and I mean, you got to kind of earn it, but one team that I feel like has kind of been a quiet team creeping up those standings is Michigan, and they're undefeated. Not to mention how big of a year was this for Jim Harbaugh, man. That guy was on the ropes with that job. Everyone said he was on his way out. And I'm not saying Michigan is a championship team. I don't believe they are, but looking at the standings, I mean, they're undefeated. Do you think that they could, sneak into that top four? Do you just not see it happening?
As a matter of fact, Ryan, I am very impressed with what Michigan's doing this year, but I don't think they're going to get into the national playoff contentions. And this is why Ohio State is on a roll right now. They're just breaking necks and cashing checks, and they're probably going to steamroll the rest of the Big Ten. I want to be wrong, but most likely I'm not. And the thing about Michigan, and this is the third week we say spoiled rich kids. And I feel bad for the spoiled rich kids because I know they're out there with their silver spoons and their Maseratis going, hey, that's not nice. But the Michigan fan base are spoiled rich kids. If you actually look at the totalitarian, the span of Jim Harbaugh's time at Michigan, he's been doing a lot of great things. He's been doing a lot of 9-win seasons. He's been going to the right bowl games, but the big monkey on his back, so to speak, is losing to Ohio State. And that's where the bar's set. And the thing is look who's beating Ohio State. Not everybody is beating Ohio State, and you're the only loser out there who can't get it done. For the most part, Ohio State is going undefeated, if not pretty darn close in the Big Ten East. And then they're losing to teams like Alabama or Clemson back when they were good. And they're 3-3 right now. I'm super delighted in that. But it's an unreasonable expectation that these boosters have on Jim Harbaugh. He's done a wonderful job. He's actually taken the program to the next level. Now it's up to you and your boosters to figure out if you want to go to the next level of that, which is championship contender and beating Ohio State. Who's your next coach going to be? And I don't know if there's really anyone better than Jim Harbaugh right now willing to take that job.
Yeah, and they got a tough game next week. I believe they play Michigan State this next week. So that ought to be really interesting. That ought to be a good measuring stick game for them. Palmer, what are some of the players you see that will make the biggest impact in the NFL right now that you've seen so far this season?
Oh, man, those are good questions. I would say Bijan Robinson, if he was able to go in the NFL. And I really asked if you keep, and don't get me wrong, I'm a Texas homer. I love the Longhorns. You need to watch this kid play. He's only a sophomore, and he is a man amongst boys. He should have gone straight into the league from high school. I mean, the physical attributes that he has right now is just ridiculous. There's not a lot of players outside of that I necessarily feel comfortable with. I mean, we don't have a really strong quarterback class. The guy who was supposed to win the Heisman this year, quote unquote, was one of the favorites, and that's Spencer Rattler over at Oklahoma. Well, he's now benched. Sam Howell over at North Carolina. I mean, he's not benched like Rattler is, but he's not really performing up to the upper echelons. So I think we're probably going to see a draft with defensive players in which I'm not too aware of a lot of like names per se. I know that Iowa State has got a lot of corners that are going to be really good. Any SEC defender, on like say Georgia or Alabama is going to go to the league, but no one's going to make a big splash this year as far as the offense. And let's be honest, that's typically what people look at when they talk about players as offense. No one gives a crap about defense.
Yeah, typically that is the case. By the way, Ricky Williams was one of my favorite running backs to watch back in the day. I used to love watching him play.
Well, it's about time we have something in common, because I thought we were just going to go through this podcast hating each other.
No, I used to love him. He was tough. All right, moving on to the NFL. Man,
Well, hey,
go.
yeah.
Oh,
Can
I'm sorry. You got a hot take. I see it already.
No. Here's the thing. It's your show. And I wanted to ask if I can just rant for a second, just get this off my chest before we hit the NFL, and I'll make it quick.
You know what, Palmer? That's what people tune in for. It's for these rants, bro. So have at it.
So college football is changing, and there are a lot of these dumb rules out there that really frustrate me, and we kind of wussify the sport. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or believe this. College football is its own entity. It's not the same as the NFL. The NFL is different from college football. The ball size is different. The rules of overtime is different. And the pageantry and anything in of itself is different. And that's why I'm more key and love college football more than I do the NFL. And even though they play the same sport in football, they're two completely different sports in a way. It's almost like me having a brother through my father, but a different mother, right? We're still related. We're still half siblings, but we're very different because of our upbringing. And right now, I am very upset with the snowflake media heads and the general fan bases that made this rule possible. And this is a 15-yard penalty for excessive celebration or for unruling fan bases. Now, the thing about college football that really separates from the NFL is an unruling fan base and a really hated rivalry. In the NFL, you don't have rivalries anymore because everybody's a free agent. They get traded. A good example of this would be Richard Sherman played for the Seahawks and now he plays for Tampa Bay, but he then went to the Niners. And you're like, well, hell, you're a rivalry. Why did you go to the Niners? I would never play for the Niners if I was, but it comes down to the almighty dollar. But in college football, Alabama hates Auburn and Auburn hates Alabama. Texas hates Oklahoma and Oklahoma hates Texas. Tennessee doesn't hate Ole Miss, but they hate Lane Kiffin, who was the coach who left them to go to USC, who got fired on the tarmac. And so what's going on right now, to me, is changing the sport in a really bad direction. So the first instance of this is when Lane Kiffin last week went to Ole Miss, or Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss went to Tennessee, and the fans were throwing golf balls at him in containers full of liquid. And I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, hell yeah, get angry. This guy left you for USC. But the media is like, oh, this is shameful. How could they do this? Show some class, people. And I'm thinking, you know what? These people down in the South in particular, they don't have a lot really going on for them. And I'm not saying that in a mean way, but college football is their escape from their crappy jobs. And this guy left them, like my wife left me. But I'm not going to throw any golf balls at her, but I would if I could. But anyways, so these people have a right to be mad. And the one thing that really irritated me actually happened this week. Did you guys watch the Oklahoma State Iowa State game?
I did not.
Okay. So the slot receiver catches the ball, runs a 40-yard touchdown catch. And at the very end, he high-stepped just a little bit. And they flagged him for 15 yards for a taunting penalty.
Yeah.
A taunting penalty. Here's the thing that people don't realize about football. The sport itself sucks. When you're at practice, you're running all the time. You're either in the hot summer sun, you're either in the rain, in the snow, and whatever. You're getting yelled at by coaches. The only part about football that's awesome is winning a game. And they used to allow these kids to celebrate these little victories, but then they take that away because it hurts the feelings of the fan base. It hurts the feelings. You ran 40 yards on them. That's already bad enough. You don't have to showboat. And I say BS. Let the kids showboat. We all showboat in our lives. And the thing that people don't understand about college sports is that this is a job to these kids. When you go to play sports at the college level, you're going to class secondary. I'm sorry to say it for you folks who think they're students first and athletes second. They're not. And we all brag and boast at our own jobs, but yet we think these kids are quote unquote classless for showing excitement for making a big play. And the fans will even say like, oh, this guy needs to show more class. This kid needs to show more class. He needs a better upbringing or whatever. And I say, screw you, buddy. What do you do for your work? And how often do you brag about, doing something good? Because we all do it. So when we take away these massive semi-violent outbursts from the crowd and taking away the celebrations from these players who work really hard to get to the point where they're at. I'm afraid for college football. I think we're going to turn into the NFL, and not in a good way. So I know that probably wasn't as funny as you folks would like, but if you want more hot takes, like, share, and subscribe. But that was just something that really hit me this weekend, that I'm just getting really tired of this culture turning a gladiatorial sport into I'm okay, you're okay, we're all okay, pansy hippie fest. And I think it's going to happen sooner than later.
Yeah, the play you're talking about in that game. I didn't watch the game. I did watch that highlight. And when you say that kid was high stepping, I mean, it was saying he barely high stepped doesn't even give it enough credit. It was so small that you had to watch it a few times to be like, wait, I had to have missed something. And yeah, it was mind boggling, to be honest. And so I could be wrong. Did they take away that touchdown, or was it just after the
Yeah, they did take away the touchdown, and
they took away the touchdown. That's crazy to me.
And then moved it back 15 yards from the spot of the foul. And you're right, Ryan. It wasn't even a high step. I just say that for just context for people to know, but he basically took one step that was a little too high. But this is what happens when you come up with a rule like that. Whether it's showing the middle finger, or it's mooning somebody, or if it's taking one step, they're always going to err on the side of caution, and they're always going to over penalize these kids. And personally, I think as long as it's not derogatory, I say let the kids celebrate. They deserve it. Let's not take this game too seriously. And, if we actually talk about the quote unquote mental health of these players, let me remind you, these kids signed up for putting on a full pad of pads covering their head in a helmet and running at each other full speed and knocking each other out. So you're telling me that they're okay doing that, but you're worried about their feelings? Do you really care about the kids' feelings, or do you care about the potential, concussion protocol that they're going to have to go through? Let's be honest. You don't care about the kids and how they're feeling. You're just kind of following the culture narrative of everybody gets upset over Twitter, which is a bunch of BS, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you hit it on the head there, man. It's the thing with that type of stuff that's being ingrained or attempting to be ingrained in sports and just in our country in general. It's embarrassing because, like you said, okay, why? But you're not mad at the guys that are betting on the guys that are running at each other full speed, clamping helmets and, going all out. And that's great. But if you high step or, I don't care. There is an excessive celebration. I get that. But a lot of this stuff is flaky. It's like, come on, man. Like you said, these guys been in the gym. They've been eating right. They've been doing all this stuff to get to that one moment. Possibly it might be the only moment some of these kids ever have, so let them celebrate. Like you said, if he's flipping the other crowd off and mooning them or something, I mean, that might be a little overboard, but if they're just high stepping, I don't even care if they go together and do the, like, everybody fall down splat. I mean, come on, let them have fun and just let them be athletes, because that's what athletes are. That's what we do. Yeah, if you're going to hurt their feelings, well, you know what? Some of the times I got my feelings hurt the most was the most productive I ended up being after that moment, because I said I'll never be in that moment again. That's sometimes it's fuel to the fire, but you can't worry about hurting everybody's feelings. I mean, if your feelings get hurt over it, then sorry. I mean, that's something you got to deal with, not me. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and to go back to that, you hit the nail on the head. It's, if you don't like the action, then stop it. If you don't like someone running up the score or celebrating when, they're 25 yards in front of you about to score the touchdown, stop them from doing that. It's up to you. You need to be mentally tough in this instance to say, screw this guy. I'm going to take him out by the legs. He's not going to celebrate on me. But, obviously they're not doing that. They rather have their mommy and daddy refs throw the flag and get those easy yards. Bunch of pansy kids. Dude, I'm fired up. I'm genuinely
No,
angry.
that's so true. But you said something in the midst of all that too, that it just takes me back. Like, I always knew there was always that one guy or that one team. It's like, I do not want to lose to them. And I would do everything in my power within my reach to stop it. Right. And that's where that mentally tough and that endurance and that just getting ready. I mean, what's going to happen when the game's really on the line? You know what I mean? They got to be tougher than that. Come on. A guy high stepping that offends you? I mean, wow. If that's where we're going, then that's just like throwing up a big sign to all the other countries and saying, hey, we're a country full of a bunch of pansies. Why don't you just come beat us up?
Yeah, but just don't misgender me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Just
where I draw the
don't
line.
mislabel me.
Yeah, stupid.
Yeah. Okay. We got on a rant there for a minute. so now on to the NFL. Man, lots of interesting stuff. I was talking earlier before we got on. I was like, man, the Tennessee Titans really impressed me this last week, and they ended up beating Kansas City 27-3. I say Kansas City's done for the year, in my opinion. I mean, it's not looking any better for them at all. So, and then I did watch the Washington Packer game. That was actually a pretty good game. I thought the Packers were going to blow Washington out, and Washington actually, they have some potential. I mean, the record don't say that. It's 2-5, but nevertheless, they didn't play as bad as I thought they were going to play. They didn't look as bad as I thought they were going to look, I should say. What is you guys' take on that?
I'll let you first.
All right. Well, I would be careful about saying that KC might be done for this year. And don't get me wrong, they might be. But the NFL is different from college. So where Clemson is like 3-3, they're done. There's no chance in hell that they're getting the playoffs. But Kansas City in their conference or their division, they can still make it. Now, whether or not they're going to be as good and get all the way there, that's yet to be seen. But I want to remind people that New England, that was like 17-0 at this point, lost to a team with a couple losses in Eli Manning and the Giants. So it's still possible, but I don't see it. I think they lost their spark. I'm tired of Kansas City, though that color scheme is ugly as far as uniforms. And yes, I do care about that.
It matters for sure.
But that's why Cincinnati's so cool, man. Their helmets is a bunch of tiger stripes. That's the coolest uniform out there.
Actually, it is. I gotta go with that. That is, and they put a stomping on the Ravens 41-17.
And so, that's impressive. It really is. Because the Ravens are.
Hey, Palmer. So going back to Kansas City real quick, I want to know. So you're a coach. You coach football. What would you say is their issue right now? I mean, they just lost 27-3. You know, they went scoreless except for a field goal in the third quarter. Tennessee have a good defense, so let's give credit where credit's due. But still, how could you be so dominant offensively and then struggle the way they have? Have they lost lower guys? You know, is it a coaching thing or is it a mental thing? How would you pinpoint this? For the coach, how would you get back on track?
If I was to get them back on track, first I have to identify the problems in the defense. And that's, you kind of said, like, they have such a high-powered offense, but yet they're losing all the time. The saying that offense scores points, but defense wins championships, that's still true to today. It's just that offenses have really just exploded with all these different schemes. So you're not going to necessarily see a team win a championship from like a 9-0 game anymore, but your defense has to be good enough to at least stop them from scoring once in a while. And they're just not doing that. Their offensive line doesn't look that good to me. Maybe Patrick Mahomes should have got that State Farm deal. I would say, hey, Patrick, maybe you should stop doing all these advertisements. Maybe get your team prepared, because it does come down to the top end leadership. But yeah, ultimately, I think they could still do it. I don't think the Raiders are that good, even though it seems like with Gruden gone, they're even better than before. But then who else do they have to compete with in that division? They have the Broncos, which also have a nice uniform, by the way, and the Chargers, not as nice as a uniform. These are winnable games. They could definitely be in there, maybe even as a wild card. But I mean, Maybe not as a wild card. They'd have to win their division. But yeah, I don't know if there is any fix, and I'm just saying hold tight. And let's see how it plays out, because the NFL, it's any given Sunday, and that's the true meaning. I mean, if we actually look today, the Lions, who haven't won a game yet, almost beat the Rams.
I know. I seen that. I was like, what in the world? Stafford ain't no joke though. I like him a lot. And then him playing his former team and then playing him that well, that was surprising because I thought he was going to come out blazing, and I didn't think it'd be anywhere close like that. Not like the embarrassing moment that the Chicago Bears should have saved themselves a flight down to Tampa Bay other than to have a vacation day and get stomped by 38-3. And that game was over before the end of the first quarter, which was absolutely just embarrassing, I thought.
Almost as embarrassing as traveling to Ohio and then having video footage of a 21-year-old hottie dancing on you. I'm still on that Urban Meyer kick.
Urban Meyer, man, he comes back in episode 5. Oh shoot!
I think I'm gonna make a T-shirt that says "I'm with Urban" and just a picture of this woman dancing on Urban Meyer. If you guys want that merchandise, like, share, and subscribe.
we got to come up with a podcast store, man. This could be the new business venture, man.
I got quiet.
I was gonna say.
I live for those quiet moments, man. I'm like, that. Yeah, those things crack me up. But going back to Urban real quick, Palmer, since you did bring him up, I have a lot of people telling me saying that they truly believe that he's a for real candidate for that USC job. Not to go back to college football, but do you believe that will happen, or do you see him stay in the NFL?
Ooh, no, I like that you go back to college football, because I like the NFL, but I really like college football. That's a hard one. Here's the thing. He is a very, very proven and successful college coach. And if you look at what he's done versus Nick Saban has won multiple championships at Alabama and won with LSU. But Urban Meyer has won championships at Florida and Ohio State. And then when he was with Utah, I believe he took him to the Sugar Bowl. I mean, like, this guy's a proven winner. But would he leave what he started in Jacksonville, be a quote unquote failed head coach, and go to USC? I would say no. He might take the LSU job, but going back to Urban's mishap over in Ohio, where this woman was videotaped dancing on him. Well, imagine at one of the entertainment capitals of the world. I mean, there's going to be cameras on him. Maybe not as Brad Pitt or whoever, but he has a very short leash in a place like that, where Los Angeles in itself is not necessarily a sports town. It's impossible to be. They're fair weather fans. They only care about the Lakers when it's like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, or Magic Johnson. They only care about USC when you have Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart. They care about the Dodgers when they're winning, but outside of that, you don't see too many diehards out there. And so, yeah, I don't see that being the right environment for him to come back into the sport.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys. I mean, obviously, I wish him success in anything, and he's proven to be a dominant coach. But I just see him as a college football coach, man. I really do, and it's a shame because I feel like if he would have stayed at Ohio State, they would be that powerful. Because I mean, for what was it, personal reasons why he left Ohio State, health reasons, I believe.
Yeah, he always does that though, because at Florida it was I have heart murmurs, I'm never going to coach again.
Right.
And then Ohio State, I have head trauma or whatever, I'm not going to coach again. But I would caution you a little bit. Ryan Day at Ohio State, in my opinion, is an upgrade from Urban Meyer. He's not so set in his ways. He's young. He's moldable. He will take that program to where it needs to be. Urban Meyer doesn't fire assistant coaches. And that was one of the reasons why he was getting in trouble at Ohio State, is because he retained this guy who was with him at first at Bowling Green, which is in Kentucky, real small school, then to Florida, and then Ohio State, all the while allegedly beating his wife. Like, he just doesn't let coaches go, right? Ryan Day will fire coaches and take away their duties in between season. And that's what happened basically from Minnesota to Oregon. Their defense wasn't really doing that good. Their offense wasn't clicking on cylinders. He let go of the defensive coordinator. Now look where Ohio State's at. They're shellacking people like 56-7. And I think he's a better recruiter. And I think he's a better offensive mind. So yeah, Ryan Day, in my opinion, is an upgrade. But if Urban Meyer was to come back, I would say he would take the Penn State job if John Franklin left. I think Urban likes the Midwest, and I think he likes the South. He does have a lot of connections to USC with the broadcasting business that he did, but I don't think he would be a good fit. But and then one more thing. I don't mean to hijack this show with all my words, but I think a lot of people think that the NFL for coaches is the creme de la creme, the upper echelons, and that is your success level. And that's not always the case. I mean, the NFL, in my opinion, to be an NFL coach is actually a step down from being the college head coach. Yeah, you might get paid more as an NFL coach, but you have a lot less power and say in what you can do. You have, scouting and GMs making all the decisions. You have absolutely no say in your program. But in a college level, you get to scout the kids. You get to make all the decisions, hiring, firing, all that other stuff. Where in the NFL, you don't get to make half those decisions. So I don't like Nick Saban, best coach of our lifetime. People would consider him a failure at the NFL level. Well, you can't be a failure as a coach if you're winning national championships. And I don't care if it's NFL versus college. Mm-hmm. Good coaches are good coaches. And just to get there in itself makes you a good coach.
Yeah, that's all awesome, man. And I couldn't agree with you more. It seems like, and it goes in basketball too. It seems like the same thing that, you got, college coaches that will go to the pros, and most of them don't have success, but I wouldn't call them necessarily failures. They just tried to step out of their comfort zone, and, it's either going to work or it's not. Hey, I applaud them for the effort. Hey, that just wasn't a good fit, man. It's, that's all there is to it. There's no, looking down on anybody or saying they're a failure. And like Ryan was saying, heck, in college basketball, some of the most winningest coaches, went to coach in the pros, and like I said, there has been some that have had success, not many, but there has been some.
I think Chip Kelly is a good example too, and love him or hate the man, he left a great situation in Oregon. And I don't even know all the details on why he left, if he was forced out or if he just really wanted to go to the NFL. I've heard both, but to see him go to Philly, or he went to Philly and he went to San Francisco, I believe, and then out of the NFL. But a lot of people wrote him off as a failure and whatnot. And to me, I'm like, can't blame them, because they want to take that next leap, and I coach college kids. I was successful. How would I do in the pros? And go give it a shot. But, I commend coaches like him who have kept going throughout those quote unquote failures. Now he's at a UCLA. They're nowhere close to a dominant team, but he's building something there, and it's just cool to see. I'm coaching in the NFL or just coaching in general, whether you're a high school coach, college coach, professional coach. It's tough. It's not easy. And especially as you get to the pros, man, you got a short lifespan if you're not winning games, a short lifespan. And it's interesting. I think of Harbaugh too. He's one of those coaches that, he's having success now at Michigan, but I just love seeing certain coaches either coach in college or in the pro. I love seeing Harbaugh in the NFL. I don't know why. I just thought he was just a good NFL coach. But yeah, I don't know. Coaching, man, respect for all those coaches, man. It's crazy how much time they put into it and whatnot. And some of the coaches, man, you lose a game and you're gone. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, there's some good ones out there. As I said, it's interesting stuff. Well, Ryan Palmer, we thank you for all of your insight and your knowledge and wisdom and all that good stuff. And we will see you back here next week, my friend.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you for having me on the show.
I like
This
it.
is me signing off. Can't wait to listen and learn more about basketball and baseball. You have a good one, guys.
All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Later, Palmer.
All right. Moving on. I want to go into the Major League Baseball is going to be what's on deck right now. Man, it was an interesting week in baseball. Houston makes a statement, finds themselves in the World Series, and they will be facing the Atlanta Braves. And I'm telling you what, Houston is really, really good. That's going to be a fun series. You know, the LA, the Dodgers, you know, Justin Turner got hurt. You know, most teams that would be devastating to, and the Dodgers still battled. Of course, when you have Albert Pujols and guys like that on the bench, it makes it a little easier. Then you got players like Chris Taylor, who hits a walk-off against the Cardinals and then hits 3 home runs in Thursday night's game. I mean, I don't care who you are. That's just tough. Taylor is at 364 average, 4 home runs with 12 RBIs. I mean, I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And then you got Mookie Betts, who was at 15 hits. However, the Atlanta Braves, and it was all about pitching in the late innings, man. They just shut LA down, and you know, and then the vice versa thing happened with LA. So it was interesting, and looking at the matchups, what they're saying, the game one starters is going to be Charlie Morton going for the Braves against Valdez for Houston, which are two very good pitchers. And then you got, you know, the offensive side of things too. You got Houston, you have Alvarez and Kyle Tucker. Alvarez is hitting 441 with 15 hits in the postseason. Tucker's got 4 home runs, 15 RBIs. I mean, and then for Atlanta, you got Rosario, who's hitting 474 with 11 RBIs and 18 hits. You know, and Freeman's got 3 home runs, hitting, you know, just a hair under 300 at 294. But the crazy thing, Ryan, is this. If you look at the averages between both teams throughout the playoffs, Houston has 5 guys hitting over 300 in the playoffs. That's pretty stinking good, which is Brantley, Urel, Alvarez, McCormick, and Jake Myers. So really, if you look at that part, you know, Atlanta not so much, you know, and that, I mean, you have Freddie Freeman, who's hitting 3 home runs, still hitting well, but he's under 300. So that just tells you. So this is going to be one heck of a series. And I honestly, I would say I don't see Houston getting beat in the series. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, they, you know, from reading up on it and whatnot, they definitely seem to be the favorite. All my predictions that I threw out there were completely wrong. You know, it's been cool to see, but I mean, you got Atlanta, first time in the World Series since 1999.
Yep.
You know, that's pretty cool. And so my question for you is, out of both these teams, the Astros and the Braves, which team is the biggest surprise? Like, you didn't see it coming, and then how do you kind of get?
No doubt the Atlanta Braves. I just didn't see it. And part of it was, you know, it's been their pitching. You know, they have guys. I mean, for God's sakes, they had a guy that's tearing it up now who was pitching in the independent league. You know what I mean? He wasn't even he was just in the independent league, which is awesome. I love to see it. You know, and honestly, I hope it's a really, really good series, because I'm not saying Atlanta can't win it. I'm not saying that by any means. All I'm saying is that the difference maker in this whole series is going to be, you have lots of experience on Houston's side, and you don't have a lot of experience on Atlanta's side, right? So, right. I mean, you got, you know, yeah, you got a few players maybe that have had a little bit of playoff experience. Peterson, obviously, when he was with LA. But yeah, I'm just going to say that we'll see, though, because, man, sometimes you get them young guys that don't have a lot of experience and they catch fire and it's just over. I mean, you got guys that I mean, I didn't realize, other than pitching, how many offensive players they have that really are producing. I mean, I was really impressed with Atlanta. I didn't get to watch a lot of their games because they really haven't been, unfortunately, they really haven't been in the spotlight for quite a while. So it was shocking. And I know there's probably some baseball guys that are out there like, how you couldn't, how did you not know Atlanta, but Charlie Morton obviously has had a heck of a year. They got some good pitching, but man, it's later on in that game. It seems like that's going to be the difference maker. And so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Houston is a potent offensive team, and they got some pitching. Keep in mind that Justin Verlander also is on that Houston team. He's just been hurt. So, you throw Verlander in the middle of all that too. I mean, this is a very experienced and good team. And I would be shocked but I wouldn't be disappointed. I would just be shocked if Atlanta, beats that team. And if they do, then they've earned every bit of that, championship that they get. So this is going to be a fun one to watch. And I would say, keep a close eye. There's probably going to be, some pretty tight matchups in this one because both teams can come alive offensively as well. And the other funny point to this is all the teams that are in the World Series right now are the Atlanta Braves, who are 88-73, and the Houston Astros, who are 95-67. The two teams in the same division that had over 100 wins are sitting at home watching the World Series right now. That's what makes baseball so beautiful, is that you just got to show up. You got to show up every series. And this is going to be a good one. Can't wait to talk about this one next week to see how this plays out. And and then we'll go on from there. I'm going to transition this thing right into basketball in the NCAA real quick. Man, it was a tough week. A very familiar individual who is at LSU named Adam Miller. He tears his ACL in practice and is out for the season, unfortunately. Prayers for him and his comeback. However, I will say, he'll be back and he'll be exceptionally strong and he'll be ready to do it. He's got that DNA in him. So that'll be fun, and looking forward for the NCAA season to start anyway. That's going to be fun.
Man, that's a bummer to hear. When you told me that the other day, it was just, I guess, because through knowing you, I feel like some form of connection to Adam, and Dave training him and whatnot, and him moving schools. And it's a bummer to see, but it is a part of sports, and moments like these tell a lot about an athlete, because it's a grind, and especially getting back into playing shape and getting that knee strong again. And, best wishes to Adam. Hang in there, keep grinding, come back better. But yeah, you just hate seeing that with anybody.
All I will say is the year he comes back, a lot of people better pay attention, because he's going to be a killer. He's going to try to come in and definitely make a statement. And that's just who he is. And that's what makes it fun. The NBA also kicked off this last week, and the Los Angeles Lakers. Interesting first week for them.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, not even the fact that they dropped L's their first couple games, but you got players getting into it on the bench, 2 games into the season. And to me, I mean, like we were talking before the show, in sports, sometimes you get into it with your teammates. Right. That's normal. You're practicing together all the time. You're always going at it and whatnot. Now, do you usually see that 2 games into the season? No. Mm-mm. Usually that's when you're halfway toward the season. Everybody's tired and you're ready for playoffs. And to me, that said a lot about their team and where they're at. Obviously we don't get to see behind the scenes, but the Lakers, you have LeBron James, especially at this point in his career. Well, anytime in LeBron James' career, you're one, but especially when you're in Los Angeles. And I think that that's going to be the main story this year. Is I think that they're going to struggle, and I could be wrong. You know, you don't ever want to count out LeBron. You know, love him or hate him, the dude's fantasy basketball. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how that shapes out. But it is good to see NBA back. Chicago Bulls, man, they're a fun team to watch. They're a fun team to watch. Charlotte Hornets, just good to see Steph Curry back doing his thing, man.
You know who I was the most impressed with, who I thought, wow, they looked really good, was the New York Knicks. How long has it been since we said the Knicks were good? They looked really good. Fournier looked good. Randall's a beast. You know, and then you got D Rose up there. You got Barrett up there. They actually looked. I was impressed. You know, of course, this is the beginning of the season. However, I was really impressed.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's good. It's just good when the Knicks are winning, man. It's fun. I tell you what, I went to a. Are you able to hear me right now? My computer keeps saying that I'm losing internet. I don't know. I'm gonna assume that you can hear me talking though.
I can.
Okay. I went to a New York Knicks game probably 5 years ago. I was in New York. It might have been longer, and they were terrible. They were so bad, and the electricity in that building with those fans during a time where the Knicks were garbage was crazy. You would have thought that they were the best team in the NBA.
Yeah.
Just how loud it was, the energy in there. And I had never experienced that before. And it was just super cool to see. So I can only imagine what that building is like right now with the Knicks, you know, winning some games and whatnot. It's just cool to see. Love them or hate them. I like seeing the New York Knicks winning games.
I do too. And, you know, they're crosstown brothers, rivals, whatever you want to call it. It was funny because that first game, it was the Nets and the Bucks. And I think that was the Bucks way of saying, hey, fellas, we're the defending champs. We still got on lockdown right now. Don't jump to any conclusions like you guys are running away with this thing. So that was fun to watch.
That was a beatdown too.
It was. Giannis kind of went off.
Yep.
You know, he had a heck of a game. Kudos to him, man. And that's good stuff. The 76ers, man, there's still drama brewing over there. But they're still playing. I mean, they beat the Pelicans 117-97. They're not playing too bad. Yeah, it's just the Warriors beat the Clippers. Warriors beat the Lakers. Man, Lakers and Clippers in the first week for Golden State, which Steph went off against the Clippers. He went for 45 points, 10 rebounds, and an assist. My goodness. Yeah. However, I will say Paul George looked the best that I've seen him in quite a while.
Yeah, I agree, man. He's Paul George, man. I feel like he's a little underlooked. He's just a good basketball player, and he's one of those players. He kind of does everything for your team.
He does.
You know, just his presence on the court makes your team better, and I think that's good that you brought him up because I think he's in for a pretty big year.
I think this will be a big year for him, and it'll be fun to watch him kind of bounce back because, man, like we've talked about in the past, it's like, man, you go back to when he played in Indiana. I mean, my gosh, he was a killer, you know, and personally would go in and just thrash teams, you know, and so it's funny though, because the minute we were talking about the Bucks beating the Nets, we look at the score on Thursday night, and the Heat throttle the Bucks 137-95. Tyler Hero actually had a really good game. 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. That's a rock solid game for him. And Miami's not looking too bad either.
No, you're right. I think they're going to be a very, very dangerous team this year. And not to mention, they're just fun to watch. They're fun to watch, dude. They play with heart, energy, and yeah, they're going to make some noise.
And it's funny because we're talking about LA, and then you've seen that the Golden State Warriors beat them, turn around, and then on Friday night the Suns beat them by 10. I kind of feel like, you know, it's funny. It's funny to see this to me as well, because it's like, you know, they got so hyped up in the preseason, like, oh, it's a disappointment if they don't win the you know, this, that, and the other. And it's like, you know, it's almost like Phoenix and Golden State. Some of these guys are saying, hey, we're still in the West. You know, ain't nobody running away with the West. I mean, I'm sorry, they're just not. And actually, at this point in time, for once in a long time, I feel like there ain't nobody running away with the East. That's
Yeah.
just my opinion. And it's like, this is probably one of the most balanced years I've seen it in quite some time. And the East and the West, it don't matter where you're at. You're looking at some tough basketball and tough divisions. And this year is going to be really fun to watch. And it's weird because it's already roller coaster. Because then you go to, then Portland played Phoenix Saturday night, and Portland beats them 134-105. But I feel like this is what this season's going to look like. I really do. I really feel like it's just going to be back and forth and back and forth, and it's going to be fun. I mean, you can't count Dallas out. The Pacers actually, yeah, they're again. Then you got again on Saturday night. Then you got the Pacers beat the Heat 102-91. So,
Yeah.
so it's just Sabonis had 17 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists. That's actually a rock solid game. And yeah. So this year is going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to see who do you see, who's your I guess this is really it's not really preseason, but who's your it's kind of preseason prediction on who do you see that's really going to contend and you think that's going to be in the championship at the end of the year?
I think Miami's probably going to be one of the more consistent, dominant teams this year, because I think you're right. I think it's going to be pretty balanced. There are going to be teams who surprise us one night and then go lose to a team they shouldn't have lost to. And I just think that's just kind of how the league balanced right now. But I think Miami will be consistently pretty good, barring any injuries. And I think that the Chicago Bulls are going to be a good team this year.
I think they are too.
They put together a roster that I think is going to really make some noise, and they're very, up tempo. They want to get up and go, and they put Lonzo Ball in a situation for him to be successful, and for a dude who came in with probably more pressure than any player, to be bounced around the way he has, to hear everyone talking about how broke shot is, to fix his shot. It's not easy to fix your shot, to completely change your form.
Not in the
not the NBA. The dude's a legit 3-point threat now. So that's just a cool story that I enjoy seeing. And then also in Charlotte, sticking with the Ball family, the Charlotte Hornets, man.
Wow.
Credit where credit's due. With, when Steph went to Golden State, you could tell there was a shift in the culture immediately when he got there.
Right.
And the main thing that I noticed was anytime you watch the Warriors play basketball, they always looked like they were just having fun. They made winning look so effortless, and just the vibe and the culture of the team it just looked fun to be a part of that organization. And that's what I see in Charlotte now. Ever since LaMelo Ball got there,
yeah,
those guys are just out there hooping, man.
Oh yeah,
you see a lot of smiles. It looks like they all get along well. And I think that's going to be the culture that they have now, and it'll be interesting because LaMelo Ball, he's for real. He's a force in that league, and we've talked about him a lot on this show, and it's cool to see him, where he is now, because I think a lot more people are seeing what we saw a while ago, because the dude's been killing it for a while, but to do it at the top league in the world at the level he's doing it, and the dude's still pretty dang young. I think he's 20, 21, I'm not too sure.
Well, he showed up at the first game in like this neon green or yellow. I think it was yellow suit with the Lamborghini to match. So life must be tough in Charlotte,
Yeah, it looks real tough.
By the way, they beat the Nets today 111-95, and Miles Bridges had 32 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. Kevin Durant still had 38, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. KD's just KD. You ain't gonna stop him, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's been interesting to see Brooklyn. They're kind of starting off a little slow. I haven't really watched a full game of theirs yet, but I'm curious to see how the whole Kyrie thing plays out. You know,
Well, and I
if
was
the
just
dude,
gonna. That's where I was gonna go, but go ahead.
well, you know, if the dude is just not going to play basketball this year, you know, or if he's going to get traded, you know, it'll be. I'm curious, you know, because people say, you know, well, the Nets are still just fine without him, and you know they probably are. They still got Kevin Durant and James Harden, but Kyrie Irving, man, he's a difference maker. You know, we talked about how he's been cancerous on teams before, and he has. You know, but the dude is one of the best basketball players in the NBA. I
Hands
don't think
down.
anybody disputes that. And you know, to say that we're better without him, come on, you're
Yeah.
not. You're not.
Yeah, no doubt. And I applaud him for you know, going for, you know, what he feels is right. And I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with it. I am gonna make this prediction. Jalen Green will be one of the best players in the NBA. The dude is good. He played Boston today, had 30 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists.
Oh my goodness.
This kid's gonna be a killer. I'm telling you, Jalen Green, he's gonna be a killer. It's so we got all kinds of fun stuff coming up, man, and it's just getting started. This is crazy. I mean, we're gonna be having college playoffs. We got the Super Bowl coming up. World Series will be over here in the next couple weeks. So this will be interesting. It's gonna be a fun season, man. And gosh, you know what that means, though.
I do. I do.
Lots of
It's
fun
time to go.
stuff. It's time to go. We thank y'all for listening, joining us. Please share, like, subscribe, give us a review, give us a thumbs up, all that good stuff. Reach out to us, send us a message. Let us know what you would like us to talk about if you have a particular subject. And we thank y'all. Love y'all. Peace and God bless.